All of these things help make a better experience for moviegoers, no matter where they go. And that's what we want. That's what our members want. They want to make this experience as amazing as it can be for all of their audience.
This is the Box Office Podcast. I'm Daniel Loria, the editorial director of Box Office Pro, the pulse of theatrical exhibition. And in today's episode, we've got Lou DiGioia, the COO of the National Association of Theater Owners, talking about the investment that is coming to a theater near you, more than $2 billion dedicated to improvements to the moviegoing experience, committed from exhibitors nationwide. Lou joins us in a pre-taped conversation because this week, as you might know, is the NATO Fall Summit in Los Angeles. Now, none of us here at Box Office Pro attend the Fall Summit because we're good media partners, and we know that sometimes there are closed-door sessions.
Some conversations need to happen behind closed doors, and that's completely understandable. And I'm getting a little bit of FOMO, I will admit, because some of the programming looks interesting.
Yeah,
but is what it is.
Absolutely. And you just heard from my colleague, Rebecca Pahle, deputy editor at Box Office Pro. And we also have here on our panel this week, Chad Kennerk. Chad, how are you? How are things?
Doing good. Getting settled into a new spot and figuring out what theaters are near me. I have so many different chains available, everything from AMC to Harkins to Cinemark to Regal, Alamo. And then I also really have to get over to the 88 Drive-In Theater, which is close to me. So that's been open since the 70s.
And the C Film Center, a shout out to our friends at the C.
Absolutely.
Or do I say the Psy? Is it the Psy or the C? The C, there we go. I've heard great things of that institution.
Yeah, that's a great spot.
And you know what? The Denver Film Festival is coming up, Chad. We should get to Media Credential. I've attended that in the past. Cool, great film festival they've got over there. Highly recommended. Well, I know that you haven't been able to make to the movies, Chad, because you're in the middle of a move. Rebecca, you got a dog recently.
Yeah, I bought my ticket, or I reserved my ticket through AMC A-List to see The Substance, and then I had to reassess how long I could leave my dog at home alone. So I had to cancel that one. But I do plan to go sometime this week. My boyfriend is definitely watching the Mets play the Braves this week I'm a baseball widow. So I do plan to go out and see The Substance this week. If I'm confident that she'll behave. Yeah, she's looking at me. I'm looking at you.
She's been silent so far. I wonder when we get the cameo.
I haven't heard her bark. She has not barked. It's insane.
Just put her in a bag, take her into the auditorium. Kidding. I'm not. If our listeners, we would never dream to do that. Come on.
There are some dog-friendly auditoriums, right? I mean, you're going to talk about in the feature segment here all the interesting new things that cinemas are doing to draw in moviegoers.
There actually is a movie theater over in South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. Lucy Mann, who we've known for years here at Box Office Pro, runs a dog-friendly movie theater called the Park Plaza. So we've featured
the decor of it has like some neat like pillows, and the decor really leans into it. It's I've never been in that part of the state, so I haven't been to the theater itself, but it looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. If I had a dog at any point, I would definitely be hitting up those dog-friendly movie screenings. I'm in a similar position with you guys. It's been really hard for me to make it to the movies lately with daycare schedules and print deadlines for our magazine now that conventions are happening and like convention traveling as well. So it's been hard, but I did get to see, I'm going to go ahead and call it a movie. It was a little bit over 2 hours. It was a thriller, a lot of excitement, and it had me in tears of joy by the end. So that sounds like a movie to me, as the University of Colorado Buffaloes defeated the Baylor Bears over the weekend in a thrilling overtime game. No time left on the clock. Shedeur Sanders, perfect timing pass to the end zone, right in front of the student section. I'm living my best life with a relevant University of Colorado football team. I know it's very niche. I won't take over the podcast, but it is a cinematic experience that I go through every weekend. It's wonderful.
Absolutely. The same with the Mets. It really taps you into the romance of baseball. And if they do win the World Series this year, I am definitely going to be sending Joel Davis from Premiere a Mets ball cap.
I think we owe it to Joel Davis, who. So to our listeners that are newer, we end up talking a lot about baseball in this podcast. My wife is a huge Phillies fan, which makes me a Phillies fan, quoting or misquoting that line from Pulp Fiction. My wife is a vegetarian, which pretty much makes me a vegetarian. It's like that, but with the Phillies in my family. Rebecca is dating a diehard Mets fan, and she's been living in New York for a while. You're up in Queens, Rebecca. Rebecca's a big Mets fan. And we talk about baseball a lot. A lot of the segments that get cut out of the podcast tend to be about baseball. And Joel Davis very nicely sent us Houston Astros caps when Houston won the World Series. But we might have a face-off between your team and mine, so there might be tensions on this podcast as we go into October if the Phillies play the Mets. But let's move on here on what we've got on the business side of things, because there's been a lot of news lately. We'll talk a little bit more about the billions of dollars in investment coming to a movie theater near you with Lou DiGioia in the second half of this episode. But let's start how we usually do with some news from around the industry. We've got a big update from our friends in Cineplex in Canada. There's a press release sent that surprised me. I wasn't really tracking this story on digital ticketing fees or ticketing fees. What's going on in Canada, Rebecca?
Yeah, legal news. So there had been sort of a legal dispute with the Competition Tribunal in Canada, basically over $1.50 online booking fees. The allegation levied towards Cineplex was that this constituted quote unquote drip pricing, and basically was viewed by this commission as a deceptive marketing practice, just kind of sneaking fees in there without being upfront about it, without people being aware that maybe they're going to get dinged with that extra $150 on top of the normal ticket price.
So it's like the service charge that we see in any
which is something that's definitely sort of taken for granted. And I'm a $1.50 service charge. Regardless, Cineplex was ordered to pay around $39 million Canadian, which I believe comes out to around
that's $1.50 as well, US. So it's basically one ticketing charge. You come out even from it.
Yeah, basically, they're saying you need to repay the amount of money that you brought in all these $150 booking fees, online booking fees over a particular discrete period. And the press release that we got today, expectedly, is Cineplex saying that they are appealing that decision. They're saying that, we're not deceptive about this. We're pretty upfront about what we're going to be charging people. And the ticketing fee is anyway an optional situation. I mean, you can be a member of their loyalty program, and as with many chains, if you're a loyalty member, a subscriber, to their subscription program or whatnot, everybody doesn't pay. Yeah, they're waived. So we'll see where it goes from there. I mean, as you know, these legal disputes, of which Cineplex has been involved in quite a few over the past few years, with the acquisition, the Cineworld acquisition that fell through. These things just go on and on and on and on. But we'll definitely be keeping an eye on Cineplex's appeal. They say in the press release here that the online booking fee is an optional value-added service. It provides moviegoers with the confidence of knowing they have a ticket and an exact seat location before they arrive at the theater. The fee is presented on our website and app in a clear and prominent manner. So, they're appealing to the Federal Court of Appeal to not have to pay that 39 million Canadian that the Competition Board in Canada has said that they owe. Competition Tribunal, pardon me.
Tribunal sounds intimidating.
It's tribunal. That's just a little more woo. But also in the press release, they're saying, this doesn't have any impact on operations or ticketing fees or any of the sort of online nuts and bolts of day-to-day operations. So it's not going to be having a recognizable impact, I think, anytime soon. But it's definitely interesting in the context of, Daniel, we were talking about this before recording. definitely all the industries, the ticket masters and the Airbnbs and
airlines. But I mean,
yeah.
that's what upsets me, honestly. And I don't mean to editorialize too much here, but like, it's one thing going after Ticketmaster or Live Nation. I don't mean to pick on companies, but like,
they're extortionate
sectors that are
Yeah.
very deceptive about these practices. And you hear a lot of politicians, including here in the US, address this. There's that.
You think
and
someone's
then
going to cost $50 and then it ends up costing like $125. That's not exactly a buck 50.
Yeah, it's way different when you talk about $1.50 booking fee that's very clearly marked, and that I think, as Cineplex explains, hey, you know what? All you have to do is just sign up to our loyalty program, and you won't pay it. It's a fairly, I don't know. At the end of the day, I understand where the tensions are, but I just would like to see all businesses treated fairly and not just saying we'll go after this business, not that business.
But Canada's legal system is Canada's legal system, and I do not know enough about Canada's legal system and how they treat these other Ticketmaster and the like.
We should get Vincenzo back here, to Guzzo, to talk a little bit more about the Canadian legal system. We had him during the COVID era, and listen, it can be exasperating dealing with these things, but we we'll continue tracking this story because the development, I think, is relevant for exhibition at large, because we don't know how topics like this might come back up again for other exhibitors in other parts of the world. Another big chapter starting here across the industry, a huge story that we covered on our website last week, the Motion Picture Association, the trade group representing the studios, adding a new member, and it's another streamer here, Prime Video and Amazon MGM Studios, the newest member of the Motion Picture Association. This is something that I know I'd asked Charlie Rivkin, the head of the association, maybe 2 years ago at CinemaCon during a press conference. And I know it's something that the MPA was saying, hey, we're very interested to see how we
Netflix
can bring...
had been added at that point,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. Netflix had been added, and they were very open about it. They were saying like, hey, we have a lot of streamers on the anti-piracy side of what we do, and we're always looking to see how we can bring them in to the bigger tent of the MPA. Obviously, that's come through with Prime Video and Amazon MGM. It's been interesting to see how the MPA has evolved under Rivkin. I think a very consequential head of that trade association, really finding a focus on anti-piracy efforts and finding a focus on expanding the membership base outside of just studios, integrating streamers. A big transformation over our colleagues over in Washington, D.C. So big congratulations to the MPA for their newest member of the crew. Let's talk about some cinema technology news here. On the premium side, we've got Barco's HDR by Barco experience slowly expanding. Chad, this just hit the recently opened B&B Theaters Red Oak location in Texas.
Right. And it's the only location in Texas that's set to premiere this technology. I think there's 5 theaters in the US that they're rolling this out at. The first film that they're rolling this out with was Transformers 1. Yeah, so audiences can go experience that new technology there in Red Oak.
Talking about more premium formats here, we've got an expansion of the ScreenX panoramic screen format. Apple Cinemas, a mid-sized exhibitor that is among the top 50 in the nation, according to our Giants of Exhibition ranking. Apple Cinemas just signed a deal to add these 5 ScreenX auditoriums. It's interesting now seeing these type of third-party premiums being installed in mid-range circuits. And I think
for the longest time, we would see, maybe the Regal in Times Square would have that premium experience.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have a major chain in a major city kind of like roll out that experience. Now that the chains are rolling these out in medium-sized markets, you're also seeing mid-sized circuit come in and compete.
We see family cinema, a lot of different types of cinemas do over-index in these mid-sized markets and, the middle of the country. We definitely see circuits like B&B, like Marcus, over-indexing on particular more family-oriented films quite frequently. So, yeah, it's good that, I imagine a big, spectacular, beautiful-looking animated film would look quite good on. I've only ever seen live action on ScreenX, but I imagine that a lot of that family content looks great.
That might be a cool experience. One of those movies, we could say, is The Wild Robot, coming out this weekend from Universal. Let's go over the tracking for this title. We're currently expecting a $25 to $35 million opening weekend range for The Wild Robot. The floor of that range is along the lines of where Transformers 1 performed. These are numbers that we're aggregating from our forecasting panel here at Box Office Pro. If you were to ask my opinion, and I am not on the panel, so, obviously take this with a larger grain of salt than you do any of our forecasting, I'd probably say the lower end would make a little more sense, probably more comparable to where Transformers 1 opened. But I think our panel does believe there's potential here. Yeah, I think the word of mouth holds are going to be positive. Which, by the way, over the weekend, I was at a butterfly festival up in Mamaroneck in Westchester County here, New York City.
Nice.
There is a cinema, the Mamaroneck Cinemas, in the downtown area of that suburb north of New York City. Looks gorgeous. We had the baby, so we couldn't go in and watch a movie, but we went in there with a stroller just to check out the lobby. I've been wanting to visit the cinema for a while. As we went in there, a group of kids that rode their bike to the theater was walking out of the Transformers 1 screening room. And guess what they were talking about that they really couldn't wait to see for their next movie-going outing?
Wild Robot?
Terrifier 3. These kids had a combined age of 25.
Wow.
Between the three of them, they maybe added up to 25 years old. They're they can't wait for Terrifier 3. And,
are they going to be able to get into Terrifier 3?
I don't know, man, but I might need a babysitter in a couple of years, and those kids are more than allowed to babysit my kid, in a couple of years' time. Had a nice laugh about that. I don't even know if Terrifier 3 is playing up with our friends over at the Mamaroneck Cinema. I hope it is, but you guys might want a strict door policy when you have it.
They need to have
heads up. Have a guard at the back door.
Yeah, well, they need to have an of-age clown like they did the nuns with Longlegs. You could go with a nun to the theater and get in to see Longlegs.
If you brought a nun?
Didn't know that.
No, yeah, you
really?
could sign up. Your parents had to give you permission, but the parents signed a waiver basically saying, yes, this creepy nun can supervise my children to go see Longlegs.
Did it have to? Could it be someone dressed as a nun, or did it have to be an actual?
It was an
would
official,
they make you recite Latin mass or something.
Maybe I don't. This was an official hired creepy nun by Neon.
I don't know you want to take that risk with Terrifier 3. I think Child Protective Services might have a case in their hands. The scary clown thing is so tired by this point, but they've been able to really stay on top of the culture and use social media to their advantage. The
director's incredibly active. He's communicating with fans. It's they're definitely putting the work in getting that grassroots. To the point of I'm really curious to see how the re-release, I believe it's of the first two Terrifiers, the double bill. That's some smart stuff, considering 2 just blew up and got so big, and maybe people missed it or heard about it later. They're going to want to go back and see it. So I like horror movies, but I don't love that sort of. I've never seen a Saw movie, and I don't care to. But I hope that it does well. I hope that everyone buys popcorn and the Art to Clown popcorn buckets. And I hope it makes a lot of money.
A smart exhibitor would, if you don't have a deal, to have these popcorn buckets, because Chad, Rebecca and I were talking about this offline. Knowing what concessions collectibles are available where is still kind of the Wild West, you said, Chad, online.
What's exclusive, talking about this. What isn't?
It's really hard for moviegoers to figure that out.
Online versus you have to get it in the cinema.
Yeah, Rebecca, you just wrote a feature story in our Show East edition of the magazine about this topic, really understanding how to connect with your moviegoers about this. Now, for exhibitors, you might feel left out of the loop if you don't get your hands on a collectible. If a creative exhibitor
there are other ways. There are other ways to do it for smaller exhibitors. Yeah. To do it in a way that connects with the film without maybe getting into any copyright or branding or licensing
I'll throw this out there right now.
You definitely don't want to get sued. But
what you can do, an enterprising small exhibitor without these partnerships, vomit bags. For something like Terrifier 3, that's a gimmick. That's a gimmick that you've seen
that's some
throughout
old
the ages. That's
Castle.
an old, exactly. The Terrifier 3 unofficial vomit bag shoot an email to your friends that are distributing the movie
Serve
over
the
at Iconic
serve the
Releasing. See if
popcorn.
there's some sort of way that you can integrate the brand to it. But even if it's unbranded, just say like, hey, here's your popcorn and here's your vomit bag for
Here's your
Terrifier
popcorn
3.
in a vomit bag. Like,
That might be a little bit, that might be a little bit different. But I think it's creative and interesting, and there's ways you can lean into that for people that are interested in it. Right now,
and
Terrifier...
it's a Christmas movie. I mean, there's possibility there in terms of marketing and freebies and events. I love a good, Christmas and spooky season theme.
Right now, Terrifier 3, a number of weeks out of release, is tracking to a $4 to $8 million opening weekend, which would be a strong weekend for a film like that. Now, we do have to say it's the same forecast, unfortunately, that we have for Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis opening this weekend. So there is a chance that Art the Clown, in its third outing, beats out Francis Ford Coppola's magnum opus over their respective opening weekends.
On the subject of tracking, Daniel, I wanted to ask you, because it was a situation that was kind of percolating last week, but we didn't end up talking about it on the podcast. What's going on with the Joker 2 tracking? I don't know how specific we can be about, but it's
not good.
Not looking
not
great.
Good.
Right?
No, and listen, we'll be very open. Now, for our NATO members, we send out tracking reports that we receive from our forecasting panel 6 months out of the film's opening weekend to just update them on where tracking is going. A lot of that data is pre-release awareness, is social media, is comps, trailer views. We have Romeo on to give us some of those insights. A lot of that is just general awareness tied to performance in the past. It doesn't really get specific until the pre-sales period opens. That's when the exhibitors on our panel give us feedback, anonymized feedback that we aggregate into a national picture. We had a base of $100 million plus for the Joker sequel opening before the pre-sale period. Everything in awareness, it was sky high. The performance of the R-rated Deadpool sequel in the summer just reinforced our thinking.
You have Lady Gaga in there.
Man, I mean, it just made sense, right? And then the pre-sales period started. And man, it is not going well. We're talking about... Right now, it's tracking between $60 to $90 million opening weekend, which is considerably less than what we had originally envisioned for the Joker sequel. We'll see where it ends up. Again, tracking is an imperfect science. We're really just going through the data that our partners are giving us, but signs are bad right now.
Do you recall what the tracking was for the first Joker? Because it definitely earned more than the most of the estimates going into that weekend.
It's hard because back then we're talking about pre-2020, and also our tracking was much worse back then. Our tracking back then, I think, relied more on,
intuition and personal feelings.
Intuition and personal feelings rather than hard data in front of professionals, right? I think this year was when we've seen a market improvement in our tracking when we switched our systems a little bit to just go directly to people that know what they're doing rather than people guessing what they're doing. So it's really hard to make that comparison. But right now, I mean, this is a reflection of the system we have in place. We have no personal stake to the numbers we're putting out there. We're not saying, we're the smartest people in the room. We're just reflecting what the smartest people in the industry are telling us. And the trend is bad. The trend is not positive.
It would be great for their, the word of mouth ticks up once our screenings start happening. And we would love for that film and every film to open over 100 million.
Yeah. It's just not, it's not
Megalopolis open to over 100.
Well, yeah, Megalopolis, if it hits 10, we'd be happy. They've got IMAX screenings, which I think is going to help business this weekend. I will say, I've heard from former classmates from graduate school that I haven't heard from in years, all texting me, hey, have you seen Megalopolis? There is a very small niche of movie nerd
is that in a Schadenfreude sort of way, or a genuine?
No, genuine sort of way. Maybe I think there's Schadenfreude built in. I think it's unfair. From what I've seen from the trailers, it doesn't seem like a type of movie I'm super excited to see, but I will see this as soon as I can lock in some personal time to go to the movies and catch this, because we have no coverage around the movie planned. It's a bet. I think judging it on box office alone is the wrong way of judging Megalopolis. I'll be very upfront about that. The press is going to be brutal, and our coverage, I think,
I don't think Francis Ford
Coppola
cares. He's out there just doing his
thing.
Francis Ford.
It's not going to reflect anything on Lionsgate. What does it mean? There's not Megalopolis 2? Boo-hoo. It's fine. Just stop worrying about the box office on this, guys. We're talking right now to our partners in exhibition who are trying to figure out staffing levels, are trying to figure out, how to plan for a film. We're expecting 4 to 8 million. We all hope it overperforms. If you're not distributing it, if you're not selling tickets for it, I don't see why talking about this movie's money is interesting for you. I really don't. Coppola doesn't need anybody's help. My hot take on Coppola is I have great reverence for the first 2 Godfathers and for Apocalypse Now. Everything else I haven't totally connected with, and I include the conversation in that. And even Dracula, it's not my jam and hasn't been since the 70s. And
if I can be up front, I've never seen Apocalypse Now all the way through, and part of it is because I don't know which freaking cut to see.
I have opinions on that. Yeah, it's a whole category. I have opinions on that. I actually just not to give free advertising here. The 4K Blu-ray remaster of Apocalypse Now was really good. They have a lot of different versions. That's the thing. It's kind of like with Blade Runner. The first 2 cuts of Blade Runner I did not like. It was until the 3rd cut, which now I forget which cut it is. It wasn't until the 3rd
director's
cut. Yeah. It's hard to keep track. But yeah, I think Apocalypse Now, they all are good, I think, in my opinion. But there are certain cuts of Apocalypse Now that you're right, are better than the others. That's an exhausting conversation. That's a sort of conversation no one has.
I just tune out.
Yeah, exactly. We can't have these guys tune out. Sorry to our listeners. We're not going to go through that rabbit hole. Instead, we are going to cut this news segment to a close right here because we do have an update on that NATO investment, that CapEx investment that we're seeing from theater owners, more than $2 billion in movie theater upgrades coming to a theater near you in the coming years. And we've got Lou DiGioia from the National Association of Theater Owners joining us in a pre-recorded conversation to talk about that. That is coming up after the break. Chad, Rebecca, thanks for joining. And we are back here on the Boxoffice Podcast with Lou DiGioia, the COO of the National Association of Theater Owners. Lou, welcome to your debut appearance on the Boxoffice Podcast. Why did it take this long, man? Where you been?
I don't know, but thank you for having me, Daniel. Really excited to be here.
Now, we are pre-recording this because Lou, as we listen to this in real time, our audience is in Los Angeles for NATO's Fall Summit. Box Office Pro plays by the rules. We're not going to try to sneak in on you guys. I know it's not open door session for the press. That's fine. We get our time when the sun in CinemaCon. But I will be asking you a little bit about what you're looking forward to at the event. But first, let's talk about this big news, Lou, that came in. Theater owners announcing that they're going to be investing more than $2.2 billion back into the cinematic experience. Talk about coming out of the pandemic and ready to get on that rebound, ready to get everything up to date and ready for moviegoers and movies. Can you give us a little bit of context on this? What does that $2.2 billion mean exactly? Because it can be a little vague if you don't know the details.
Absolutely. Well, let's put that 2.2 billion number into context. So that's 8 of our top members. So it's not the entire industry. And I think what's important to note is that the reason we put out this release was to raise awareness about the investments that are being made throughout the entire exhibition industry. We had the data point for the top 8, so that's why we used that in the release. But understand, it is not just 8 chains that are investing in themselves, it's all of them. And we're really excited about that. And it was a trend that we heard when we would talk to our members. Tell us about what's happening, especially as you recover from the pandemic, from the strikes, as we get back to new normal. And what we kept hearing people saying was, we're investing. And we're investing in lots of different ways. Certainly, great sight and sound is very important, but there's lots of investments beyond that in seating, in the facilities, in HVAC, in carpeting, in concessions. All of these things help make a better experience for moviegoers, no matter where they go. And that's what we want. That's what our members want. They want to make this experience as amazing as it can be for all of their audience. So we're excited about it. And it's something I'm glad that people are responding to with this release, because this is great news for the industry.
It's one of my pet peeves sometimes. It's when someone that hasn't gone to a theater in a long time, especially on the press side, I have to say this about my colleagues. You can always tell the folks that only go to press screenings because they're the ones that always go with the sticky floors, dirty carpets sort of thing. That sort of theater, that sort of model of theater is very much outdated. The movie theater of today, and we're seeing this from across the industry, independents, mid-sized circuits, top circuits are investing back in their theaters. And it's great to have this message out there. A big part of this that you just clarified is that $2.2 billion, as you mentioned, that only encompasses the top 8 circuits. That's about 2/3 of the domestic market. There's a whole other third of the domestic market that is also investing. So if anything, 2.2 billion is lowballing the sort of CapEx investing we're expecting to see in the coming years.
That's right. And that's why when we did the release, we were intentional about using the phrase more than 2.2. Again, we had the data for the top 8, so that's why we chose to use it to get this release out. But without a doubt, when you go to theaters of any size, you see it. I'll give you a personal example. One of my favorite theaters is Cinema Arts Theater, which is near where I live in Fairfax, Virginia. I've been going there for decades. And you can see it. You can see the investments that are being made. Not too long ago, they put in brand new seating. They've upgraded the projectors in there. And it's a noticeable investment in the theater. And it's a great place to go. And we love seeing that. We love seeing our any theater, any of our members investing to make the experience better for all their attendees.
And it's another detail I think that's important to point out here, because sometimes, and listen, we're part of the guilt that has to be spread on this. We get lost in the CapEx conversation, equating that exclusively to premium large format. We know right. PLF, premium auditoriums, one of the hottest trends. We're seeing a lot of folks going that way, but that's not what CapEx is going to entirely. You just mentioned it. It can be reseating, it can be HVAC systems, any way, shape, and form that you can go back into an existing site and make it better, or even go into a new space and come in with an innovative concept. That's happening not just at one auditorium per site, but across every auditorium, across most sites in the United States.
That's absolutely right. And there are so many different touch points. Another example of CapEx investment is on the technology side. Is it easier for moviegoers to get their tickets, right? To make it a seamless process to get in, to order concessions. Those systems require investment, and people demand that nowadays. They want things easier to do. How do you make some of these processes more seamless? So we're excited to see this. It makes it a better experience for everybody when you see these investments, no matter what they are, whether it's and of course, PLF investments are great. And we love seeing that as well, because it's providing, different ways for people to see these movies. But investments in other parts of the infrastructure and the system pay big dividends as well.
It's something that in my conversation with Adam Aaron, the CEO of AMC Theaters that I had back in CinemaCon, he was very quick to bring up. He was like, listen, right now, every circuit is trying to figure out the best way to deploy cash. And it can be into going in and making cinema entertainment centers. We're seeing large circuits like B&B Theaters bet big on these cinema entertainment centers. They're beautiful. They're state-of-the-art. That's one avenue. You can go in and either get an in-house PLF, go out, get another one. We see international circuits like View International just going out and really reseeding their circuit. Another big part of it, as you mentioned, can be the background tech aspect of it. Something that the consumer might not see on screen, but that will make their experience, their ticket buying experience, for example, a lot easier, because we know that e-commerce revolution has changed the way we operate in this economy. And movie theaters really have to step up and be part of that. Ticketing, I think, is a great example of that. Do you have the right app? Do you have the right website? Are you making it easier for your consumer to buy tickets? Because that old model of finding the showtime in the newspaper and standing in line, well, that's just not where we are today. And it's great to see cinemas really step up to that challenge.
That's right. That's right. And it allows, these investments in technology allows theater owners to leverage their data that they get from these systems to better communicate with their audience. And that makes for a better experience. If you're telling me about movies that I want to see because of what you know about me, I think that makes it, you get better results that way, and it helps their businesses grow. So these investments, we hope, provide long-term dividends for our members. And we're seeing that happen.
Yeah, no, it's part of that trend that, again, also Adam Aaron was speaking quite a bit at CinemaCon, that we're really seeing expand. It's not really about the number of theaters and screens you have. It's about optimizing the ones you have. You want to make sure that everything in your fleet of theaters really steps up to that experience. Anything that is behind the times or maybe too expensive to renovate in an area that doesn't work, we might see that maybe fall off, but it's not that they won't be replaced. They will be replaced. They'll be replaced by something state of the art. Something that I remember Adam saying quite a bit was his battleship theaters. This is something that I think every circuit has, right? Your money-making theaters, it can be in a major town, it can be in a suburban area, but those sort of locations that you know are going to return on that investment, you have to assume those are probably going to go first. But this is the numbers that we're seeing from this release, $2.2 billion from just the top 8 circuits. That suggests more than a major city situation. This suggests a national effort to improve moviegoing for everybody.
Absolutely. And again, this release backs up the information we're hearing from our members on a daily basis. All 50 states, all sizes, everybody is investing in their systems. Everybody's investing in their theaters because, like you said, they know that they have to do this in order to make sure that they're providing the best possible experience. So it is not just limited to a handful of places. And we're excited about that because you want every moviegoer to see the fruits of these investments, right? So if you only are seeing that in a few key cities, then most people will walk away disappointed. But no matter where you are in the country, you're going to see these investments and you're going to see a better moviegoing experience.
And I'm really looking forward to just see how this industry continues to evolve in the coming years. Really, the last 10 years have been fantastic. I know you've been in NATO for quite a bit here, also seeing some of these changes, just the way that the movie theater space has evolved doesn't stop fascinating me. And I'm sure that's one of the topics you guys are going to be talking about. This week as our listeners are listening, but next week as we pre-record this, you'll be talking about this in LA at the Fall Summit. Could you preview some of the conversations you're really looking forward to? Maybe some of the topics that in those closed door sessions are going to be important to bring up with your members?
Absolutely. The theme for this year's summit is innovation and a focus on the future. And the sessions that we're having our members engage in are, all aligned around that topic. So I'm excited to hear some discussions about theater owners who've been making these investments in themselves. That's actually one of the sessions this week, is investing in ourselves. And we can hear firsthand about some of these very interesting innovations, the impact it's had on the theaters and the impact it's had on the moviegoers. And I think there's a lot of best practices and lessons that our members can learn from each other. Also, just fostering the culture of innovation. Innovation doesn't just happen on its own. It has to be fostered. It has to be throughout the entire organization from top to bottom, a focus on that innovative mindset. How do we get better? How do we improve the experience for everyone? And that is something that we're going to spend some time talking about as well. So I think these are great conversations to have at the summit. They're tailor-made for the size group that we have there to really take an opportunity. Certainly there's going to be the chance to talk about what's happening right now. There's going to be an opportunity to look forward and say, how do we really position ourselves for success in the years to come?
I think it's going to be fascinating to not only see those evolutions, but, come back, everyone coming back from the Fall Summit. You always hear, hey, there's a really good panel session on this. It's always interesting hearing from people coming back from the summit and saying, hey, these are the things that we heard about. These are the things that we really want to focus and apply our attention to. I always feel that CinemaCon is the face that exhibition is giving outward, and Fall Summit is really the discussions that you're having inward, right? One of the things I hear about CinemaCon, a lot of folks saying, well, I didn't really hear people challenging themselves too much. Well, buddy, that conversation happens in September, and you're not invited. That's the sort of discussions that we have in terms of crafting the future of this industry.
That's absolutely right. You want people to feel that they can have a space to have these critical conversations in, right? And we are very proud to provide that space at the summit. Like you said, it's a different mindset. And we're happy that this year we're focusing that mindset in looking on improvement and innovation. And I think it's a conversation we all want to have. And we're glad to have the opportunity to host it in LA next week.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Lou. I look forward to seeing you again soon here on the convention travel schedule. Best of luck in LA next week.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you there.
And that was Lou DiGioia from the National Association of Theater Owners talking about the improvements coming to a theater near you, a bright future for exhibition I'm excited to see how local audiences respond to these improvements. Earlier, you heard from my colleagues, Rebecca Pahle and Chad Kennerk, and we will be back once again next week with another episode of the Box Office Podcast. If you like what we do, don't forget to rate, share, subscribe, just promote our podcast. It helps us continue to do this week after week. Thank you again, and we'll talk to you again next week.